So we get to the final boss of Wario Land 4, and considering the other 5 bosses in this game, if you thought that we weren't going to be getting something completely over the top and overly ridiculous, then you were definitely wrong. It's not as gross, demonized, or just a bunch of weird crap that you would expect. It's some sort of geisha woman wearing multiple masks, which it's a grounded idea, I suppose. At least it's not, again, drooling, vomiting, or peeing all over the screen, which is a nice break. Before this, we had to have that 10-minute timed level where we collected a bunch of crap and then move on to this. So yeah, the final leg of this game was literally just a really long level and then a really long boss fight. It's a bit overly complicated. It's not super bad like a rare boss would definitely be. It's just that you have to keep on your toes throughout the entire thing, and you have to quickly learn what's going on so that you don't waste your time on stupid crap, even though you basically get infinite attempts at the boss anyway, so you have all the time in the world to learn. It's just that the boss fight takes a long time, and since it is time, you can lose a lot of that time on trying to guess your way around Golden Diva's attacks. So it does get a bit frustrating in the first couple of attempts, but you will eventually get it down, because the entire boss fight is basically just throwing crap at the Golden Diva over and over and over again to damage her by making her change masks. The first part of the boss fight isn't that hard. You have to knock her ghostly masks out of the air to use as a projectile to throw at her face, well, throw at her fan until it breaks apart, and then it goes into the big chunk, which is in the second phase, where she'll start throwing out a set of random projectiles that you can use in different ways to attack her face. The first is some sort of paper floating down spike thing, which you can, I think, jump on in order to turn into a throwable projectile. She has a hammer that she throws out occasionally, which can turn you into Spring Wario for a few unnecessary wasted seconds, and then you can throw that at her, but it has a really weird arc, so you're gonna have to get a bit of practice in on that one. Then she throws a bouncy ball at Wario, and I don't even know how that one would actually damage him, but what is a big problem is that the only thing that you can do with the bouncy ball is just ricochet it along the walls and hope that she just flies in a direction where it would actually hit her, because the law of chaos means that this isn't exactly a good projectile to use. Using a combination of those, you can start to take down the Golden Diva. This will be the longest part of the boss fight, and because things will start ramping up, she starts changing and chaining her projectiles together to make it harder for Wario to grab things in order to attack the Golden Diva. She'll start making spikes come out of the hammers for the first 10 seconds that that hammer is in play. She'll start making the bouncy ball more bouncy and make the spiky paper projectile more erratic and more common that it comes up. So you'll have to be really, really quick and sort of patient at the same time. And it does kind of work because, again, the time will be going away from you. So you'll have to start getting these projectiles faster in order to do more damage, which thankfully Golden Diva does just by comboing her projectiles together with the initial damage increase. So you get more stuff, but you're going to have to wait a little bit of time to actually get it in play, which, you know, it does help by hurting you a little bit more. If you survive up until that point, then the final phase of the boss fight will start, where the small mask is broken and the tall mask gets introduced, and her combat completely changes. It actually makes the boss fight a lot easier because, like Bowser at the end of Super Mario Bros. 3, it is very predictable and it's actually pretty easy to get damage going. I suppose that the final phase is like this because it's the final phase, which means that the time would mostly be out for most players, so they have to get things moving pretty damn quickly. What she does is that she starts smashing the ground and revealing spikes under the platform. Then you have to lure her into hitting the spikes, which will make her drop more than her hitting the ground, and open her up to a charge attack, which is how you deal damage in the final face. Again, this is actually pretty easy to do. Her movement is pretty predictable, so you can get a quick string of hits going together, and then throughout the patience and the grinding and having to learn all this crap, you finally defeat the Golden Diva, get to leave the pyramid with all this treasure that you found, and finally learn the reason behind that dang black cat that has been following us this entire game was actually some sort of princess angel that was transformed into the cat and needed the Golden Diva to be defeated so that the curse would be lifted and she could return to her alien planet or whatever the hell happened at the end of the game. I mean, it's a Wario game, so it's not out of the ordinary that it just goes completely off the wall for its final cutscene, but, you know, the princess we didn't know was there at all, showing up at the last minute to give Wario some sort of goodbye kiss. It definitely feels like Nintendo Handheld pulled this crap out of their ass. But as final bosses go, I've definitely seen a lot worse. It's not completely ridiculously complicated like a Rareware boss would be, so I appreciate that. The game at least gives you 6 minutes to get this all done. And like I said, you don't really get punished for failure, just as long as you can stomach the time that you would have to use to get back to the spot where you failed. But at that point, you get to learn the attacks a bit better, you get to cut down on the time that you are going through the phases, and everything just kind of rolls into each other until you get to the ending. I guess the problem with the ending is that because the game was so short and lacking in characters, plot, and really anything to create an intrigue, ending itself just feels completely unsatisfying just because it was kind of a half-assed game. There's nothing really more to be said about that. They had these spectacular levels and these, you know, decent challenges. They had some variety to the game, but Nintendo Handheld didn't put a lot of effort into it, so we get a tiny amount of levels. We don't get an interesting plot around this. We don't get any characters. All we really got was the intro cutscene, which was pretty impressive for a GBA game, but that was about it. I'm just kind of surprised that at the end of the series is when Nintendo Handheld decided to start cutting corners and not bothering to put the talent forward that created games like Wario Land 2 and 3. It is a real shame because these guys back in the day could make projects that were innovative. They could make things that were crazy different from anything else that we've seen from a platformer, and especially the Mario series. This thing had a right to existence that was completely separate and a top tier from anything else in its library. But they come onto the GBA with all of its increased graphics potential and horsepower compared to the Game Boy Color, and they produce schlock like this. Maybe the other developers that Nintendo roped in to make more Wario games after this will finally be able to fix things, but Wario Land 4 was definitely not the finisher that I wish the Nintendo Handheld would have gone out with. Golden Diva is a good boss, but it definitely doesn't push the envelope or make me appreciate it above a lot of the other good cases that we've seen in other games. It's good, not great, so yeah, you're getting that score.